smoking, it's a revolution. Revolution, revolution. Shots to your head, it's an execution. Execution, execution. It's being us versus the corrupt. Red dot, put a cross to your head. Let the Lord interrupt. Interrupt, interrupt. Gun smoking, it's a revolution. Revolution, revolution. Shots to your head, it's an execution. Execution, execution.
It's a revolution.
Ooh. It does feel like a revolution. Woo.
Man, does that song hit now or what?
I know, man. I'm like, I was talking to a bunch of people today, and I was like, whew, I should be dropping that song, man. It's been sitting in the cupboard for way too long.
Just that first verse right there, dude.
Insane. Do we have a lot of stuff to talk to you guys about today? Welcome to the Liberty Goons podcast.
The lubricated goons.
The lubricated. As we're oiled up and ready for this one today.
Oiled up, buddy.
My name is Don Welch. As you guys know me for Don Welch Music on Instagram and all social media platforms. This is John at the 2A Patriot Ranch. You guys know him from the Bang Bang Bangs. And we are the Liberty Goon podcast, man, here to spread some truth and some opinions and some ideas and spread freedom across this channel. So, John, what you got for me today?
Man, episode number 4. We are a little off cycle on this episode just because we wanted to get this one out, and I think you and I did the right thing about delaying. We wanted to go live on Saturday night, and I think it was best that Don and I's conversation stayed private for the last 2 days before we filmed this. So
yeah, we if we would have done the first day, holy cow, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I was ready for war.
Yeah.
I mean, I still am, but anyway, man, let's jump into this week. Obviously, I'll do the lead up here to our first segment, but on Saturday, Donald Trump, former president, number 45, and presumptive president number 47, was holding a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. A little backstory there. Butler, Pennsylvania is where my family lives. My stepdad and his family have been in Butler since the beginning of the city, and I have spent many a years traveling back and forth to Butler. And on top of that, just so happens that my mom and one of our family friends, actually multiples of family friends, but my mom and one of her friends were sitting in the second row, about 20 feet in front of Trump for this rally.
Goosebumps even saying that on here again. I know you've told me, but holy cow. It's insanity to have been there. Oh.
My mom doesn't really do a whole lot. You know, she's retired. She's not active. She's not, going out to public places a lot. But she absolutely loves Donald Trump. I mean, she absolutely loves this man, and the lady she was with is probably even a bigger fan. She was actually, I think, at J6. Not actually like storming the Capitol or anything, but she happened to be in Washington that day. And my mom was so excited to do this. I had been talking to her about it since I attempted to go to the Trump rally, a few days before that in Miami. And she was just so excited. And so leading up to this, Trump was supposed to speak at, I believe it was 5 p.m. And in typical Trump fashion, he went on right at about 6 o'clock. He was about an hour late.
As he seems to be quite often these days.
Yes.
I mean, the crowds are so insane. I mean, you can't start that on time. It's almost impossible now.
No, it's impossible. So I was actually up at the ranch the past few days. I was filming a bunch of content, and I knew the Trump rally was coming on. So I drove back to my little shanty and threw on RSBN on YouTube, even though I always make fun of those commentators. I threw it on anyway and decided to watch, and got about 10 minutes in, and I heard a gunshot. And I think Don and I both we know that sound probably better than most. I have heard it in many facets of my life, and I knew even when nobody else in the crowd seemed to know what was going on, or the commentators knew what was going on, I absolutely 100% knew what that sound was. I picked up my phone right away. I called my stepfather because he was not at the event with my mother, and I said, "There's been a shooting. Donald Trump's been shot, and mom is there." And I felt helpless because I was in Florida, and there's nothing I could do. Mr. Preparedness here, and there was nothing I could do to help my family. And so my stepdad and I talked for about 20 seconds. He's a former federal agent, and he said, "I got to make some phone calls. Let me get off the phone real quick." I picked up the phone again. I called my sister. She didn't answer. I think she was at dinner. I think she feels bad about it now. And I called my brother, and then I called Don Welch.
Yeah.
Don didn't answer on the first time. He called me back like real quick right after that, and he said, "What's going on, man?" And I said, "Dude, Trump's been shot." He said, and I quote, "Get the fuck out of here." What?
That's exactly what what's crazy about this is, I see it over here. I'm over here loading ammo. In case you guys don't know, I shoot USPSA. So typically on Saturdays, I go into my garage and I load some ammo up and get ready for Sunday, because every Sunday, I go shoot a match. And as I'm looking here, and then I finally look down, and I seen that you called, and I was like, "Oh shit, let me call John real quick." And that's the first thing he tells me, and my head was like, "Whoa!" Like my heart sunk, And I had talked to people about this several times. It's crazy because even today when I walked into work, people were like, "You were right," and because of what I had been saying is like, dude, there's no way that they can win. The only thing left for them to do is to shoot him. I said, I bet you that there's going to be an assassination, and I hope not. Hopefully the secrets Secret Service is good enough. But we found out,
What was going through your head when I said that to you? Because what a phone call, right? Like, you call me up just thinking I'm calling to bullshit you.
Oh man, I thought, holy shit, get everything. I like you said, right? Like I try to get myself in order as much as possible. And then you realize, holy shit, I'm not ready for what's about to happen at all, And I immediately hopped off the phone because my dad, I know my dad was watching it, and I was about to turn it on as
I was freaking out anyway. I was not in a good position to talk. Like,
Yeah,
I couldn't. I was freaking out.
What I was about to do right before that, because I knew that he was, that he was speaking, so I was about to turn it on, but I was getting all my stuff set up for my reloader, and I turn it on and watch the speech is what I typically do every time he talks, and my dad didn't text me, and I was like, what the fuck, like. Typically he would like if something like that crazy would happen, he would have immediately messaged me.
Right.
Well, apparently, like his phone was blowing up too, and then my phone started to blow up. I mean, obviously you're the first person who told me. Then I immediately ran inside, started to watch the TV, and I had a million ideas going on in my head of like, this looks like, well, we won't even get into that. We'll get into that a little bit later, but dude, it's just like heart sinking to even watch that,
I called you before Trump even was off the stage, and we'll get into all that stuff. But I called my stepdad first, then my sister, then my brother, and then you. And when I was talking to you, I remember saying, I'm pretty sure Trump got hit. He's down right now. So by the time I had gotten through all those phone calls and I called you after I heard the first shot, he was still on the stage.
Which was crazy because I actually saw a meme because my buddy's from Ohio, and he's a big LeBron James fan, and there was a funny meme going out today, and it was like, Trump gets shot and stands up in 20 seconds. LeBron James gets poked in the eye and stays down for 90 seconds. So it was hilarious. Like I mean, afterthought, it's hilarious. It's not funny somebody getting shot at, but I just thought it was comical because he's such a LeBron James fan. I was like, man, the internet's fast. But
so let's just run through. Let's run through. What we know. We're gonna save what we think for the next segment. Right now, we're gonna talk about what we know, what failures we know. Some of that stuff. So, at 6:11, shots rang out, and Donald Trump was hit in his right ear by a bullet, of which caliber we'll get into in a little bit as well. He immediately went down. You could hear a volley of what appeared to be about a total of 11 or 12 shots, 7 of which I believe came from the gunman's rifle, and I believe 4 or 5 of which came from Secret Service or police firearms, judging from sound. Apparently, on top of the AGR building, which is a pretty well-known building in Butler. I mean, it sits just outside the fairgrounds, so I mean, everybody sees that building all the time. Perched up on the roof of that building was a young man by the name of Thomas Matthew Crooks, and he is a 20-year-old from Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, which is about 45 minutes from the Butler area. What has been reported so far of what is confirmed about Mr. Crooks is that he had registered at some point as a Republican, and that he had donated through a super PAC to Joe Biden's campaign a total of $15. He went to a nearby high school, and he also happened to appear in a BlackRock commercial while attending that high school. Everything that I have said about that gentleman right now is 100% factual. I have not embellished. I have not given my opinion at all on that. After the shots rang out, Mr. Trump grabbed his ear. President Trump grabbed his ear. He immediately went to the ground. I am going to assume, I don't know this, obviously Don and I, neither of us have been in the Secret Service, so we don't know what the president's supposed to do in these situations. I'm just going to assume that the president, he's a very smart man. I'm assuming that he did the right thing. And he got down low, because if you guys know, those columns that are in front and on the side of the stage that have the flags over them, those are steel barrier frames. So it doesn't look like it, because it just looks like American flags on it. But he got down below that. At that moment, Secret Service rushed the stage and covered up President Trump while he was on the ground. Obviously, there's a few famous photos from this incident that are circulating right now. One while that is through legs, and you can see Donald Trump's face with blood coming down on it as he is kind of hunched over. Yeah, he's got his hands over his face. And then the audio recordings that were picked up from the microphone that were on stage are actually pretty good. That is a very strong microphone, which we're going to get into a little bit of that a little bit later when we start talking about ballistics. But it was a pretty strong microphone. You could actually hear the Secret Service communicating throughout that whole process.
Mm-hmm.
At the time that these Secret Service agents are rushing the stage, the counter assault team has also come out of hiding, and they are on the stage now. These are the guys that you saw come up on stage and surround the stage in their tactical gear. They were full kitted out with what looked to be SPRs. They're there to literally provide firepower, because the Secret Service at that point, the coverage people there, their job is to not engage fire.
Yeah.
They're there to protect the president.
Yeah, they're basically there to sit there and cover over Trump. So they're not going to sit there and turn around to take fire shots. Their whole objective is to make sure that he's 100% covered, which I'll get into that later on as well. But
we got some more on that.
yeah.
But I will say that they did react very fast after the first shots, and they did get there. I give them credit for that. They that was a very timely response. After that first shot, I don't have the exact time here, but it was within seconds they were up there. The counter assault team I thought was on point too. I mean, those guys were up there on stage in like no time at all. And then you can hear some communication that was picked up by the mic talking about shooter down. The team talking to each other. Okay, we're ready. Let's move. They did not move on the first attempt. They did not move on the second attempt. And then on the third attempt, while they're pulling President Trump up, he says, "Let me get my shoes."
Let me get my shoes.
And I'm confused at this, and I hope we do kind of find out a little bit more in this, because I think it's interesting. Does he take his shoes off when he's giving a speech, or did they fall off when he went down?
Okay, so as somebody who wears dress clothes quite often for work, okay,
Dress shoes are hard to wear standing there.
yeah, so more than likely, I bet you he was not wearing laced dress shoes.
He was wearing loafers.
He was probably wearing loafers, and when he dropped, he probably kicked his shoes off. That's what I think. Now, we might find out completely different. I mean, shit, man. If the man wants to take his shoes off to speak, let him, dude. Because sitting up there for 2 hours, that's hard on anybody's back. You know, I mean, I have a broken back. I mean, you got injuries. I mean, you be when you're a man and you've went through stuff. It's like nobody wants to be in shoes for that long, standing in the same spot. So.
No,
Who knows
and you end up getting lock leg too and shoes like that, and you can pass out. So
yeah,
I saw that a lot when I was in the honor guard. But so they finally get him up. They start moving forward. They're still communicating like move, move, move. You can see they're all moving in fairly in sync. Trump says, "Wait, wait, wait." He looks out towards the crowd above a very, very short Secret Service agent, and pumps his fist 3 times and yells, "Fight, fight, fight." In probably the meanest Trump face that we have ever seen before. That was a look of a man that was more pissed off than we think we've ever seen him.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
He meant what he said right there. And we're going to get into the opinion part of this, but I don't feel bad sharing this opinion, and I'm sure you probably share this one as well. But I think what he was doing right there is because nobody knew what was actually going on. I think his fight, fight, fight was a message to the crowd of do what you have to do to survive right now. Yeah, that's what I think that message was.
Yeah, and I mean, I think so too. To be honest,
and I think it was a 2-part. It could have been either of these things or both of these things. I think at that time, Trump also didn't know how bad he was wounded or damaged. And if that was going to be the last thing he said, he was going to tell his supporters to keep fighting.
Yeah.
And I think it could have been one of those things or both.
Not to mention that was probably the most iconic photo of our lifetimes taken at that point in time.
The one right after that, yes. So they start to move him forward towards the stairs. He stops again at the top of the stairs, and I forget where this guy works. I think it was AP. This AP photographer is going to win a Pulitzer this year. I don't know, Don, did you see the body cam footage, one of him? He was wearing a body camera as he moved around the stage. I'm sorry if it's a she. I believe it was a he. And he captures a picture of Trump, face bloodied, fist raised in the air, Secret Service around him, American flag flying in the sky behind him. That picture will go down as one of the most iconic pictures in the history of the United States. Yeah. Hands down.
I mean, really the world, because that thing is
the world.
That thing is all over right now. It's crazy. I can't get on the internet without seeing it right now. It's crazy.
No. They whisked Trump away at that point. There was a comment of shooter down during this whole exchange. You could hear somebody, we don't know who it was. We don't know if it was a mic pickup from the stage or where, but somebody yelled shooter down.
Yeah.
They got Trump into his SUV while some other Secret Service agents sloppily donned and doffed their firearms, and took their sunglasses on and off as well. This is where things started getting a little weird.
Yeah. I mean, a woman that was supposed to be, covering the car, the barricade, whatever you want to call it, was trying to barricade through there. Basically, fumbles to get her gun out, then points it straight at her hand, then somehow magically puts it over here, and then moves her jacket, and then stumbles to try to put the gun back. This is in a matter of 3 to 5 seconds. All of this happens.
Wild.
Insane. What the hell is going on? And that's when I noticed that was the first thing that I noticed. Well, I'll get into my hypothesis later, but
yes. And maybe you can help me here and drop a comment down below if you know why this is with the Secret Service. Why was she wearing a concealed outside the waistband holster? That holster was one of those concealed. It was riding very, very high off of her hip. A lot of guys that live in warmer climates will wear those in the wintertime because obviously they don't hang down your leg as much. They stick further up, but it's a concealed outside the waistband holster. I don't understand why a person in that position would want to carry in a holster like that. It's very inconvenient. It's no wonder she was having a hard time finding where to put it back, because her arm was cocked up like this because the holster was so high. It was very odd.
Well, that, and she cleared her garment with the same hand that she drew from.
Yes, that is.
And everybody knows if you're concealed carrying, you grab opposite hand, pull, shoot, right? And if you're on your side, if I'm a right-handed shooter, that's what I am, right-handed, you would lift the garment here. But with a jacket, what you have to do, it's awkward. So typically when you're wearing a garment, okay, and trust me, I'm a person that's carried 1911s for a long time, you would have it here on your side, right? Because you would pull with your left hand, reach in to pull with your right. And this was awkwardly placed. I don't know who gave protocol to carry a gun like that, but
very rarely is there a situation where you would carry a gun underneath of a blazer that was directly at your 3 o'clock position. It just does not. It does not make any sense for exactly what you just explained there.
Zero sense. And I said the same thing, but people are gonna, I don't want to get into.
I digress on that part. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. It's just something that I noticed being a gun person that I found to be very odd.
There's just no gun people that are going to do that.
No, nobody's going to do that.
None.
As I said, this rundown is going to be the factual rundown, and then we're going to get into some specifics here in a second. But so in the meantime, while all of this is going on, prior to the shooting, Thomas Crooks had climbed up a ladder and positioned himself on top of this AGR building. While he was doing this, because it was not very inconspicuous, he was noticed by people within the crowd. This is not a hypothesis. This is not speculation. There are plenty of videos that you guys can look up on YouTube right now that show bystanders that are outside of the actual fairgrounds complex where Trump's thing's going on. They either didn't get in or got there late or whatever it was. They were just kind of hanging back up that way by that tree. They start yelling to the police that are in that area
for almost 4 minutes straight. Almost 4 minutes. And there's videotape of this that's for 3 minutes, and then the videotape cuts off before a shot's even cracked. Yep. So 3 to 4 minutes, maybe even longer, but we know for sure, bare minimum, I believe the videotape's 3 minutes and
it's
30
3
seconds.
Something, yeah.
So at least 3 minutes and 30 seconds, maybe 4 minutes, maybe longer. We don't know.
Yep. And one of the police officers, and as this has been reported, again, we are not hypothesizing here. This has been reported on every major news station so far. A police officer crawled up the ladder. It looked like an 8-foot ladder to me. It was a folding ladder that had been leaned up against this kind of veranda area. And A police officer climbs up the ladder, encountered the shooter who pointed his rifle at him, and the police officer went back down. In about the same amount of time, the split second time, this action by the police officer, if it did anything, actually hurried up the shooter. And directly after this incident happens, the shooter then starts clacking off rounds in a much more hurried fashion than he probably was wanting to.
Probably within 3 seconds, I would say, or less.
Yeah. It was really quick. Counter sniper team that was on top of the building behind President Trump. I'm not going to get too far into this because the confirmation of reports here is a little iffy. So we're gonna save this to the speculative portion by us as to what they saw, what they didn't see. But there was a counter sniper team that was on top of the building behind President Trump.
Let's just say we can say this. So there is information that's out that says counter sniper team said 45 seconds. I saw them say that today. 45 seconds to counter. Now, however, the Secret Service before that, details came out from the Secret Service saying that they had him locked for 3 minutes. And then there is speculation of people saying that they asked to take the shot when they saw the shooter and they were told to stand down.
Right. And that part there is speculative. And I'm not saying this to be like difficult or anything like that, guys. We just want to make sure that we are not a propagator of misinformation, because we do have some strong feelings that you're gonna hear here in just a second.
Absolutely.
But we want to make sure that we are not those people that are out there spreading, as Trump would like to say, fake news. Don and I are both still struggling to figure out if that counter sniper team actually returned fire. We'll get into that in the speculative part here.
Now they did say that the counter sniper team is the one who took them down, and we will get into speculation on that, like John said, because John's got he believes something different, but we do want to say that it came out that the counter sniper team is the one who took the shot to kill him.
Yes, that is what was reported.
That was what was reported.
So the report says that they took him out. And then after this all goes down, obviously you can, there's been plenty of pictures. We're not going to share any of that stuff out here of, Mr. Crooks being shot in the head, bloody pictures of him, etc.
They're all on the internet. You guys can find it. We don't need to show you guys here.
You know, obviously President Trump was hit in his right ear, like I had said. Unfortunately, behind him, was a father who was there with his wife and daughter. Corey Campitori, I believe his name is. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that last name. He was a firefighter from the local area. And he dove down to shield his wife and his child and was hit by one of the bullets and died shortly thereafter. There were also 2 other people that were critically injured, and as of the last time that I saw, they are still in critical condition in the hospital right now. There were also some other people that were wounded by whether it was shrapnel or just grazes or whatever it was. There were multiple other people that were wounded. So our thoughts go out to that family.
And just, I believe. And I just want to state this real quick, just to let you guys know, we are filming this Monday night. So by the time this comes out, things might change.
Yes, you know? I'm going to try to get this out as fast as possible. But yes, a great point, Don. Things might change, and somebody could perish, unfortunately, in that amount of time. So I don't want you to think we're giving misinformation here. This is Monday night at 10:53 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah.
So that's the facts. That's the factual rundown of what happened on Saturday in Butler, Pennsylvania. And just so everybody knows, my mom is fine. She was bawling her eyes out. And I know my mom listens to all of these. And I just want to say, to my mother that I love you and I'm mad at you because the reason she was bawling was because Donald Trump was hit and not because of the situation that she was in. You want to talk about a tough damn woman right there.
Yeah.
She was more concerned about Donald Trump than herself. And I think that's the way a lot of people felt that day.
I mean, that just speaks for like true patriotism, you know, that the greater good for the country, you're more focused on that than you are yourself, which, you know, most people, you know, if you're on the left side, I guarantee you most of them people would be all woe is me. So, you know, prayers to your mom. Awesome that, you know, she was there, but also at the same time that she had the courage and the wits to realize what was going on and, you know, stand up for what she believes in. Because, man, there's a lot of people, like we say, we're the silent majority, and for her to be there and stand up for what she believes in says a lot about her.
Big time. So Don and I are going to run through right now. We're going to run through point to point, not point counterpoint, but just point to point on what we're going to get to point counterpoint here in a little bit, but we're going to run down point to point on our kind of thoughts on the situation as far as failures go, and just kind of we're still going to leave our speculative thoughts about what happened out of the way, but this is just, you know, point for point of what went wrong.
Yeah. There's some big ones.
so Don, why don't you kick us off with what went wrong?
All right. So here's what we know, guys. We just ran through everything in a pretty decent timeline. So Secret Service, the police knew that there was a shooter on the roof. Now, we know that it was for at least 3.5 minutes that they knew that shooter was on the roof, possibly more. And more than likely more, right? Because there's no video footage of the cop really scrolling up through the ladder and being filmed that we know of, right? There's no timeline on that, but we do know that there's a 3.5 minute long time where they're screaming at the police, trying to get the police's attention. Now, there's also another video of a guy saying that Secret Service had binoculars pointing at him, staring at the guy, and he's screaming, yelling that there's a guy on the roof as well. So Secret Service knew, the police knew. No matter what anybody tells you, they knew that. Okay. Here's where the big issue lies. If they knew that, okay, why didn't they just immediately take Donald Trump off the stage? Okay. Second part to this. Now, this is speculative because we've heard several different things. We've heard that the sniper, now what from sniper team is saying that, from what we're hearing, is that they're saying that they only seen him for 45 seconds. They asked to take the shot. Secret Service told him to stand down. Okay. If they told you to stand down, why didn't you remove him off the stage? Once again, this all comes back to why wasn't he moved off the stage? Now, if they had him in the sights for 3.5 minutes and they knew for 3.5 minutes, that's 3.5 minutes that you could have done something. Not just with Donald Trump, but the whole crowd, the whole entire crowd. These are supposed to be the most tactical human beings on the planet. These people are protecting the most, what you would call precious items in the world, precious people. These people are, you know, these are the leaders of the world that you're supposed to be protecting. Okay. How does this happen? That's my question. And I'm going to get into why I think it happened later. But John, I'm going to let you go from here, man, because I know you got a lot of stuff to say.
I'm going to back it up from where you were at. I'm going to back it up to 48 hours prior to the rally. The Secret Service, as well as any protective detail for corporations, dignitaries, whatever, they do a site survey, scout survey on the whole entire area. Now, according to the Secret Service, their AOR, for those of you that don't know that term, that's area of responsibility, was inside basically the confines of the Butler Fairgrounds.
So they say.
And that the Pennsylvania State Police had purview
of the outside.
outside of that. There's so many things wrong here. I'm just going to break it down real quick, top to bottom. Number one, you're trained when you go to do these things that you start up high and you work your way down low. You start off first with line of sight and then move from there. So we're going to look line of sight everywhere from where the stage is at, where Donald Trump is going to be standing. We're going to start at the top of that position, and then we're going to go down. The best point of view was on top of that AGR building. It had a clean line of sight at approximately 150 yards. It was 130 to 200. I'm just using 150 as a middle ground here. We're not going to get into exact here.
None of us have a rangefinder.
No.
Chill out, guys.
No. So
we're just going off
150.
what they're saying.
Yep, 150 yards on a roof. There is absolutely no way in hell that whole entire building should not have been locked down. And on a second note, and I'm not here to say that they picked the wrong spots to set up their Counter-Strike teams or counter-sniper teams, I'm sorry. But that roof would have been a great vantage point for them as well. They failed in both of these things. They did not have that building and that area completely cleared and surrounded. Why? We both hope we find out. And
probably never will, but
probably never will. And how they weren't using that spot themselves, I don't know. Now, Don and I are in like two different classes of gun guys, kind of. Don is more of a pistol shooter, and I am a little bit more of a rifle shooter. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. However, I've seen Don shoot both. Don and CB shoot both. Both of us on a bad day with COVID, hacking up a lung with iron sights and the 5-mile-an-hour wind that was going on that day could have made the shot from the top of the AGR building at 150 yards all day. I was taking shots all weekend just like that.
Mm-hmm.
It is, and I know you've probably, if you guys are podcast watchers, and obviously you are because you're watching us, you've heard a million other foreign military and Secret Service and Navy SEALs and all kinds of shit get on and say this is a pop shot. Guys, we're two idiots here telling you
it's a chip shot.
This is a chip shot.
Yeah. It's a 10 out of 10 shot.
We zero our rifles at 100 yards.
Yeah.
That's where we start our rifles at, is 100 yards. We're only talking 50 yards out of a zero. You're talking about probably a 10 MOA, which is about 1 inch at that distance of a difference. Half an MOA actually. This is an easy shot. How in the hell do you leave a building like that completely unchecked for the entirety of the president speaking? How do you do that?
Now, John, I also want to say this because I did watch on Fox, the assistant director of the Secret Service. He did say and clarified that building had been viewed and was guarded, and he stated that he did not know what had happened, but clearly there was a communicational breakdown. This was his words. You guys can check this out on Fox.
They probably hired an Allied Universal fucking rent-a-cop or something. Like, what do you mean it was fucking secured?
Now, this is what he's saying. He's saying that it was secured. Now, like John said earlier, this shooter, was seen climbing a ladder, let's call it 8 feet ladder, an 8-foot ladder, climbing up, and then military crawling on top of the roof. Okay, if that building was secured, as soon as he put up the ladder, he would have been taken down.
Yes.
Okay, now there's 3 buildings in the whole area. Like John said, I know, John knows this. Always the best objective to take a shot at something is always from up high instead of down low. The reason why, in case you guys want to know this, Low, there's usually more obstruction, right? The higher you are, usually the clearer the side is. Now, other thing that I want to say is this. Every single one of these events, they are supposed to have some type of deflection from the outside, whether that's an American flag or a barrier, whatever the case is, from outside viewing of sight at the president, vice president, whatever you want to say, is supposed to be there. That didn't happen. As you guys can see, the flag was directly behind him. There was
Something
nothing on the
that
side.
simple would have prevented somebody from getting a clear picture.
Exactly. Something that simple. And it's been done. You can listen to the Secret Service. They've already said this. We don't know why this didn't happen. There was so many failures.
Let's talk about failure number 2 here that could have, at the last second, prevented this all from happening, or at least prevented casualties from happening. And it definitely would have prevented Donald Trump from getting hit. The cop that went up the ladder, he confronts the shooter. The shooter supposedly points the rifle at him.
Yeah,
I get it. I mean, I'm assuming you're kind of in a defenseless position right there because you're coming up a ladder and they have the high ground on you, right? I mean, it's a fairly defenseless position.
Mm-hmm.
However, all that cop would have had to do is take a step down the ladder and fire his service weapon into the ground, into the air, anywhere. He doesn't even have to be shooting at the suspect at the time.
It would have drawn immediate attention.
It would have drawn immediate attention. They would have covered Trump up. He would not have been hit. Now, that guy could have still gotten off shots and other people could have still got injured. I don't want anybody to think that would have solved this whole catastrophe. Trump would have never have gotten hit if that officer had just discharged his firearm somewhere in a safe direction.
Now, my question is now this is what the media is saying, is that this cop crawled up.
True.
Okay.
We don't know if this is true or not.
We don't know.
We have not seen video of this.
There's no video of this. Now, the reason why I say that is if this gunman had the balls to take a crack shot at Trump, and not to mention the whole rest of of every single person that was, in that crowd, why wouldn't he have taken a shot at the cop, turned around immediately? He would have had enough time, because the shooter, it took them so long, right? It took them so long to take the shot. He could immediately turn around and took another shot into the crowd. Never happened. So I don't necessarily believe that is what happened, but that's what they're saying happened.
All of these mistakes so far come down to an epic failure by the Secret Service of the United States. Every single one of them, they are trying to deflect some of that blame to the Pennsylvania State Police right now, which is unjust. Hey, they might have made some mistakes while they were there. However, the main blame here goes on to the Secret Service.
And now, also Dan Bongino,
mm-hmm.
Dan Bongino,
former Secret Service agent,
has stated that Trump did request for extra Secret Service detail. So this has been documented that he requested it, and they refuse to give it. So
now a couple things that I know have been on the podcast circuit and on the media circuit a little bit, and I want to delve into them a little bit, because I'm not going to call them failures, and I'm not going to really going to nitpick on this. Obviously, we talked about how long it took to get the president off the stage. I made a point of talking about that when I was talking about calling you.
Mm.
However, the Secret Service's initial reaction to covering up Donald Trump was, I believe, sufficient. The actual amount of time that it took for them to get on the stage.
So I think I believe one guy was, and the rest was fairly slow. If you go back and watch it, that's what I believe. Now, me and John and a lot of other people are going to say differently. I'm looking at all the other shootings that have happened.
I'm not talking about every single individual in that group, but I think as a whole, they got bodies around Trump fairly quickly. I'm just not here to nitpick how fast they were on it.
That's
That's all it is.
There you go.
I'm also not going to nitpick how fast they got Trump off the stage. And here's why. And I know this is going to be a contentious point, but here's why I'm not going to. A protection detail like this, when something like this happens, is a 50-50 thing going on. One are the Secret Service agents. Two is the person being protected.
Mhm.
Trump is a 6'3", 250, 60-pound individual. If he ain't gonna want to go nowhere, you don't want to get into a position as a protector that you're like lifting this dude up and like carrying him in a dangerous way. I mean, that's not ever going to happen. They were obviously trying to force him up and force him forward. But at some point you also defer to the protected person. There's a lot of that going on. And the main reason that Donald Trump was held up getting off stage was because of Donald Trump.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Now, I 100% agree with, you know, that outlook on it. My thing is that when they went to take him off, now they're supposed to have him completely covered.
Okay, this is a whole nother point here. Yes, and I know where you're going with this, but go ahead. I'm with you here.
Okay, so they were supposed to have him completely covered. Okay, now more than likely these Secret Service detail probably has body armor on, but let me tell you this, and I'm just going to kill this because there's so much of this stuff going on right now. People are saying, "Oh, this was staged." Nobody on God's green earth is going to let me or John take a shot at them from 150 yards away with a rifle and move your head and just know when the exact time is to move. Nobody on God's green earth is going to do that. That's not happening. If you think that, you are absolutely delusional.
And now, we're going to say some crazy things in a minute.
now, going back to this. Now, they're supposed to have him wrapped up. If the camera can catch him,
so can a gun.
So can a gun. This is where epic failure starts, right? I get it. Trump wants to raise his hand and say, fight, fight, fight. That's awesome. We got an epic picture out of a monumental moment. But before he did that, there was so many spaces that were open. And
why were there spaces open?
Good question.
So I'm going to tell you why there were spaces open. And I'm going to preface. I'm going to say this ahead of time. This is in no means what I'm about to say to be degrading towards women at all. If you have a 6'3", 250-pound president, anybody that is on the cover protection detail needs to be at least 6'3" tall. Because of what Don just said right now, there is no way to completely cover your protectee
when you're 5'3",
if you don't have that mass. And hey, that 5'3" Secret Service agent, she could be a hell of a shot. She could be super smart. She could be a great Secret Service agent. She is not big enough to block the president from getting hit. And therefore, she should never have been at that part of the detail. She could have been doing other things that day.
Yeah.
But she shouldn't have been right there. And that has nothing to do with her being a woman. If you give me a 6'3", 220-pound woman, put her up there.
And let's just go back to this. This is the same woman that did fumble her gun.
Okay, and she was ducking behind the thing. To your point of not everybody got up there very fast, this young lady was also
not ducking. Up there. Yeah.
Ducking behind.
Yeah. So there's that. And there's also the fact that the director of, the Secret Service wants to put 30% of all people in the Secret Service as women, which, you know what? If you're the most badass woman in the world, sure, go ahead. These were not the most badass women in the world. These weren't the most badass men in the world that were doing this detail. Not even close.
You know what I will give them credit for, though, the guys, is that they recognized very quickly that all the holes weren't filled. And they were like people are making fun of them for like positioning their hands. But honestly, it was a smart move because they were filling the gaps
They were trying. They were trying.
They were
their
trying to
absolute
fill those
best.
gaps. Now, there is speculation, and we don't know because it obviously they're probably not ever going to release this part of the detail. Is that we don't know if that was the president's normal protective detail or if it was a mishmash of people that were brought in from the Pittsburgh office or maybe from the Cincinnati office. Those people that were on that detail part there could have never worked together before. And so some of the fumbling that you've seen could be because they were just kind of all lumped together for this particular day.
Well, and he was denied part of his Secret Service because Miss Biden, the first lady over here, she had some type of speech or whatever that she was doing that exact same day. So that's the reason why they're saying that they didn't have enough Secret Service and then he was denied, which to me sounds absolutely absurd. You're talking about Donald Trump is the most famous human being on the planet. Joe Biden might be president, but Donald Trump is bar none the most famous human being on the planet. Probably the most loved and probably the most hated human being on the planet. You cannot fail with that. I don't care what anybody says. Nobody's taking a crack shot at I just don't see that ever happening. Somebody taking a crack shot at Joe Biden. I just don't ever see that because nobody gives a shit enough about it.
They might now that they didn't get Trump.
I mean, I don't even want to put out that type of rhetoric because
I don't want to put out rhetoric like that. I don't think it should happen. I think any type of assassinate. I hate the term political violence. I hate that everybody's been saying that. Let's call this what it was. It was an assassination attempt. And I believe that any attempted assassination on U.S. soil from U.S. political figures is 100% deplorable, to use a Hillary Clinton term.
Absolutely.
My point there in saying that was just what we're going to speculate on here in a little bit, that what might have led to any of this happening.
Correct. Yeah.
So there's the basis. We talked about kind of at a top level, the failures. Those are the bigger failures. Obviously we could get, Don and I have dug very deep into each one of those topics. But we could stay on here for 3 hours and talk about each of those failures individually. That's an overarching term.
And I think that the rest, me and you, when we first talked about this on, the day that Saturday?
I think we talked 8 times that day.
We talked 8 times. And I was going back screaming half of this stuff to John. John was screaming half of this stuff that we're talking about now, but we got way more into detail. And then not really until Monday, did you hear ideas that were somewhat similar to ours. But I was like, yeah, you're way too late already on this. Like, we've already thought about all of this stuff, which means if we thought about it, then how the hell did the Secret Service not think about it?
Because we're dumb as shit.
Yeah. Let's be honest.
We're dumb as shit.
If me and you were out there and we're like, I wonder where a good place to take a shot would be at. We would have probably picked the exact same spot that guy did.
Yep. So that's the overview, and that's our kind of thoughts on the failures and everything. We're going to go into one of our normal segments now, but we're going to continue this topic of conversation. So it is time for trigger warning.
Let's go, baby. Trigger warning.
So for this week's trigger warning, we're going to be talking about the same subject, and we want to separate the two. So you heard facts, reasoning, logic, real reports. Now we're going to get into opinions, speculation, and what Don and John think. And as a disclaimer, some of the stuff we are going to discuss here has not been proven by video or by the seen eye or by firsthand encounters. This is speculation based on Don and I's knowledge of how some of this stuff works. It is our knowledge based on how the political system in America is right now. And it's based on our knowledge of weapons and ballistics. So, Don.
All right, man. Oh my God.
So what really happened?
Okay. This was 100% in my personal opinion, an inside job. There is no possible way that the Secret Service, the greatest Secret Service in the entire planet, the entire world, lets this fail. Not possible. Absolutely
Not possible.
not possible. Okay, now as me and John said before, okay, this is a clear view shot with no obstruction. They put no obstruction there. Now we know for a fact that at least 3.5 minutes, maybe more. Okay. Now that people were screaming at the police. We know for a fact that Secret Service had their binoculars from the guy that they interviewed, that they were waving them down 3.5, 4 minutes before time, and they did nothing. Okay. This was 100% an inside job. Now, from what we're hearing, the sniper team is saying is that they saw him. Now, this is coming from Secret Service, the sniper team. This gentleman said, for 45 seconds, I had this guy on the scope, and I asked to take the shot, and I was told to stand down. Okay, now if that's true, all of this is true. If this is not an inside job, I don't know what the fuck is, because why the fuck didn't you move? Why the fuck didn't you move Trump? This is the number one thing. This was 100% planned, and I'm going to tell you why I think it was planned. They don't care who the shooter was. They're hoping that they can take a crack shot at him, and if they kill him, fantastic. 2, there's other things in play. Your Second Amendment, okay? So this is a great way for them to reach around and say, look, you need to get all your weapons taken away from all of Americans because of political violence, okay? The Democrats always have a plan B, no matter what the case is. Plan A failed. Now they're working on plan B.
Even for pregnancies.
Yep. And if you watch Joe Biden, the first thing that he said that morning, he's talking about the Second Amendment and stripping away guns from the American populace. This is what he said at
AR-15 specifically.
At 12:45 p.m., talking about taking AR-15s away. Now, me and John are going to get into ballistics. We're going to get into what we think the actual shooter was shooting. Yes, they said an AR-15. Very well, maybe an AR-15. We have some very different opinions that come on this. Now, why would they want him killed? Because the Democrats have already lost, right? They couldn't get him arrested. They couldn't get him with a case.
They couldn't silence him.
They couldn't silence him. They couldn't bankrupt him. And I said this, and when I walked into work today, everybody said, you were right. And I said, yes, I told you I was right, because I said a few months ago, I said, they've already lost. The only thing that they can do now is shoot Donald Trump. That's it. That's the only thing that they can do. And I said, I guarantee you we're going to see somebody attempt or actually shoot Donald Trump. And we saw both on Saturday, unfortunately. And the rhetoric from the left that they are spewing right now is absolutely insane. I don't care what CNN says. CNN's acting like they have had no part in this. MSNBC, they're acting like they've had no part in this. You guys have called this man Hitler. You said that he was a threat to democracy. Well, we're not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic. I can get into that later. But you guys have Joe Biden 4 days ago or 5 days ago now said, we're done talking about the debate. It's time to put a bullseye on him. These are very, very dangerous things that you're speaking about. And I'm not saying that the right's not responsible for this either, but think about this. This man's 20 years old. Okay. 20 years old. He was in a BlackRock commercial. Okay. He donated towards the Democrat Party. This man was not a Republican. He couldn't even...
He mysteriously registered as a Republican.
Great. Look,
do you know how many people do that in swing states?
If I was somebody that was going to commit a crime towards the opposite person, I'd probably register for them too.
Well, they do it just to vote in primaries too.
Exactly. So they can overthrow stuff, get to vote for who that they want to vote for. We've seen this. And anyways, guys, we already seen this with Nikki Haley. Clearly we've seen this because so many Democrats had registered to vote, and they wanted to vote in Nikki Haley so they could get rid of Trump. We've already seen this. This has already happened across the board. I don't give a fuck if they say he's Republican. First and foremost, he couldn't even vote the last election. Couldn't even vote the last election.
No.
He donated towards Democrat Party, and he was seen in a BlackRock commercial. Guys, absolutely crazy leftist. When you're telling these kids, now he's 20 years old. Think about this. Since Donald Trump ran for president in 2016, that was 8 years ago. So the majority of this young man's life, all he has heard is he's a threat to democracy. He's Hitler. He's evil. He's the closest thing to, Stalin, blah, 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 blah. You hear all these wild, insane things, and that's all that they hear. Yeah, you're going to build and create crazy people. It's clear that that's going to happen. And if that's all you know and that's all you're being told nonstop, 24/7, every single time you turn on the TV, every single time you turn on social media, yeah, you create wild people. The government knew that this guy was there. They seen him. I don't care if you can say that this was on a CIA job. I still think that this is a 3-letter agency job, no matter which way you look at it. They want Donald Trump dead. This was their chance to take a crack at it right before he was elected to be, to become the next president in the RNC, which just happened today. This was their last shot.
And they could do it publicly.
And they wanted to take the headshot to get the glamour photo. This is and you see it. You see it on social media, TikTok, Instagram. You have crazy, insane people saying, you had one job and you missed. How did you miss? And
the streamer Destiny saying all that wild shit.
People, Democrats saying like, Lee Harvey Oswald would have never missed. All these insane, just like what John Wilkes Booth would have never missed. Like insane, crazy stuff that comes out of the left. And this is what creates that. The Democrats know that. The CIA knows that. The FBI knows that. And they 100% said, fuck it. Take a crack shot at him. And that's exactly what happened in this situation. I don't care what anybody tells you. I don't care what the news tells you. This is my opinion, and I don't think that anybody can change it. So now, if we talk about ballistics, I want to get into that later, but I want John to give me his full detail of what he thinks, because I've been rambling for a hot minute because this stuff infuriates me.
No, and that was a great 10-minute spiel there of your thoughts and some knowledge to back it up. So Eric Prince was on the PBD podcast, the Patrick Bet David podcast today, talking about obviously this subject. And we love Eric Prince here at the Liberty Goons. And he said it was either malice or malpractice. And either one is just as bad. And this is a guy that ran a company that basically was founded on threat protection and personal protection and dignitary protection in much more austere environments than Butler, Pennsylvania, in a fairgrounds with one real building and a line of sight that wasn't covered. Blackwater and those whole teams, they were in the Middle East, they were in Iraq, they were in Afghanistan, they were protecting high-level dignitaries against forces of maybe 1,500 sometimes.
The most proven security detail America and the world has ever seen.
Yep.
Is Blackwater.
I mean, and some of the most badass individuals to ever don that outfit and a uniform. I mean, our somebody else we love, Sean Ryan, worked for Blackwater before becoming a CIA contractor. Don't hold that against him, people. So it was either malice or malpractice. And this is where Don and I won't say we disagree, because I'm not disagreeing on the malice side of it. I think that there are some very lingering questions out there that I need answered, or I'm going to start leaning more to the malice side than the malpractice side. And because one of these things going wrong, malpractice. 2 of these things going wrong, malpractice. 3 of these things going wrong, some pretty big malpractice. 8 of these things going wrong, you got me thinking malice.
Yeah.
So until we can start putting some answers behind some of these failures, some real legitimate answers, I'm going to have to start leaning towards the malice. And guys, we don't need to defend the malice point of view. We don't need to defend it. It's plain and simple.
Yeah.
The left has, as Don so eloquently laid out there, has called him Hitler and yada yada yada. Which let's think about this, right?
They've weaponized their rhetoric.
Yeah, let's think about this though. So let's call it 1942. Somebody assassinates Hitler. This is not what happened, but let's say this happened. Do you think that Theodore Roosevelt would have said, "Oh my gosh, we need to stop this political violence, and he didn't deserve to do this no matter what, blah 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 blah"? No. Everybody around the world would have been happy, right? So why is it the guy that you compare to Hitler, Donald Trump, you're saying that this guy is Hitler and a threat to democracy, but now you're like, oh my God, we didn't want this to happen to him. Oh my gosh, we don't believe in political violence.
There's no place in the world for political violence, not in America.
You just compared him to the person that you would be happy that died. So why are you not happy that Donald Trump didn't die?
Well,
because
the
you
media,
want.
well, the media is saying that they're so sad and this is a terrible event, but their followers are saying quite the opposite because of the rhetoric that they've weaponized and spewed for the past 8 fucking years.
Yes, since 2015, actually 9 years, we'll
9
call
years.
it.
Yeah.
Since 2015, the left and the mainstream media has done nothing but try to villainize Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And all that Donald Trump has shown us. All right. And let me preface this here too. I do a lot of prefacing, but I just want to explain myself. I was never the biggest Donald Trump fan. I think those of you that were around me in 2015, 2016 will tell you that I just wasn't. I thought the guy was a little weird and I didn't really understand him. And I thought some of his ideas were a little bit outlandish. And I voted for him, though. I voted for him. I definitely did not want to vote for Hillary Clinton. And then 2020 came around, and I had grown kind of fond of President Trump. But I also thought at the time that America could do without some of the divisiveness.
I think that's most of America.
Yeah, I thought we could. I still voted for him, though.
Oh, yeah, I voted for him and was 100% riled up and tried to get anybody and everybody I know.
I didn't. I did not in 2020. I will be honest. My mom and I had some knockdown, drag out fights about what we thought about Donald Trump. However, the year is 2024. For the past year now, I have been absolutely enamored with President Trump. And I will tell you that this man took a fucking shot to the head. And you know what society's lacking right now, Don Welch? You know what society's lacking right now? Real fucking men.
Facts.
Real men. You want to know who's a real man? Who's a warrior? Who is now a combat veteran? Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah, bro. I mean, this man stood up in 20 seconds was the time spot that it took for him to stand up after getting shot in the fucking ear. Now, if you would have turned...
Let's call it a head. Let's just call it a head. He was shot in the head.
It was clearly... the shot was meant for the head.
Yeah, he was shot in the head. The ear's part of the head.
He moved so quick that it snatched his ear. Right now, when the shot first happened, I thought it hit his face, and then kind of like a bullet would just kind of like graze and go back. But later on we found out that it was that it caught his ear pretty good, and now today
the blood was coming forward.
Yeah, it was dripping out, and
yeah.
If anybody's ever had a wound like that, I've seen a bunch of people saying crazy stuff. Blood doesn't gush like that. What happens is, especially when you have a cartilage area, trust me, I know. Look, I've I've shattered my ankle. I had literally bones coming out of my ankle in many different spots. It's like a black blood and it's thick, and then it starts to drip. Okay, your cartilage area, it's the exact same way. There's no different. That's just what happens. Anybody that's ever worked in trauma will tell you the exact same thing. Obviously, I have a good friend here that you guys know, works at a different podcast than what we have, but he's my homie, Adam. He's a combat medic. He will
Shout
tell
out
you.
Whiskey and Windage.
Yeah. Shout out Whiskey and Windage.
Yeah, he's a fucking boss. He is a boss for that move. And I tell you what, that was not scripted. That was, like we talked about in the beginning, that was just straight pure anger that he came up with.
I think when he stood up, it wasn't just. I think he realized the moment.
Absolutely.
I think he realized what the moment meant, and I think that when something like that happens, and you look, I've had several close death experience. Like, you realize like the importance of things, and it shows you what type of man you are or woman you are. And I think that's what you got out of his response immediately thereafter.
Yeah, I agree. He understood the job at the moment. And I want to say something about before we get into ballistics, I want to say something about the crowd. That crowd was under fire.
Balls.
They were not scattering. They were not screaming. I'm talking about the crowd that was down below by Donald Trump, not the one that was outside the gate. They were not screaming. They were not scattering. They were all fixated on Donald Trump.
Every last one of them. That just shows you the type of people that truly like believe and care about where America's going, because everybody knows like if you vote Democrat at this point, you're voting for socialism, you're voting for damn near communism, you're voting for New World Order, total collapse, complete breakdown of society, and that's what they've wanted. That's what they've wanted forever. That's how they continue to win, is to break down society. Like they says, united we stand, divided we fall. And the best, you can see it through all parts of history. When division happens and you can capitalize on division, people can stay there for quite some time, and that's what we've seen for quite a while now.
I agree. One of my favorite parts of the video that I saw in the aftermath was the gentleman that walked right up to where the news channels were on their podiums, and he put up his middle finger and he walked down the entire aisle of news stations and said, "Fuck you, this is your fault."
And it's crazy because if you're a conservative, you've known what you've gone through. I have went through it. John's went through it. If you even mention in 2020, 2019, 2021 that you were a conservative, you're the most hated human being on the planet, because media has brainwashed you and lied to you for so long. And this is what you've gotten. And this guy automatically was like, this is your fault, because it is their fault. It's the media's fault. Now, Secret Service's fault, the three-letter agency's fault. There's all types of people's faults that it can be, but it's essentially so many faults that we can't even really dive into it, because I could get into different sectors of every single individual, every single department of the government's fault. This is the deep state.
It is. It's funny that you said, you couldn't even say that you were a conservative or a Donald Trump fan in 2018, 2019, 2020. I very much felt, even though I wasn't a huge fan, I couldn't even say that I agreed with him on anything. You know what I did this morning, Don?
What's that?
I bought a Make America Great Again hat for the first time. Be here. It'll be on my head in episode 5, because I am going to wear it loud and proud and show my respect and adoration for a man that took a fucking bullet for this country. And he said not too long ago, guys, I don't know. This is going to go down in history as one of the greatest quotes of all time too. He said, "They are not after me. They are after you.
I'm just
standing in their way."
Gangster. Now,
And he really was standing in the way.
Facts. Now, I want to say something because you mentioned this. Now, if you're a fan of my music, you've always known that I'm a very libertarian. Now, I'm a libertarian conservative, and I've typically voted conservative. Now, during Obama, I voted for Ron Paul. I didn't vote for a Republican because the Republican that we had at the time was a fucking asshat, and now we all know that he's an asshat. I'm not going to mention his names.
Mitt Romney.
Well, I wasn't going to mention it, but there you go. We all know
Rhino asshat.
Rhino asshat. Now, with that being said, I put out a song called Black Sheep. I put out a song called, basically saying that Obama's fucked up, Trump's fucked up, the whole system's fucked up. Now, I was clarifying all this information. I said, fuck a Clinton, fuck a Trump on Empire. Now, I feel this very similar. And then the reason why is because I was being lied to every single day. Every single day that I watch the media, you're getting clips. You're not getting the full video, which can make anybody look bad. You can take a clip from our video right now and make us look
bad.
And which we know that because one of the people I voted for here, a good friend of good friends that I have, Brandon Herrera, we've seen this happen. We've seen this happen right here in our own election in District 23 here in Texas. So I had to mature, go back and watch the full videos and understand what was actually happening and what was actually being said. And since then, I have not missed a congressional hearing since then. So I am extremely psycho when it comes to wanting to have all this information and know every single person that's part of the Republican Party, part of the Democrat Party. That's why I can tell you that there are Republicans that I fucking can't stand that I feel like might as well be Democrats. Okay?
'Cause you're a black sheep, baby.
Yeah. So I mean, even with with Black Sheep, I wasn't holding anybody's hand during Black Sheep. I basically said fuck the system, and which a lot of me still feels that way. And the reason why I'm saying a lot of me feels that way is because we do have a deep state in America. These unelected bureaucrats, nobody votes in the CIA. Nobody votes in the FBI. Nobody votes in the ATF. Nobody votes in the EPA. I can go on and on and on and on. These people have made rules that have turned into laws for years and years and years and years and have dictated how America is being ran. That is the deep state, people. This is what we talk about when we're talking about the deep state. The same people that had JFK died. Well, the reason why JFK died, the CIA, that's the deep state.
If you don't think that they have the power,
you're crazy.
To do this right here, you're crazy.
You're crazy. You don't know what you're talking. You are lost in la la land if you believe that.
90% of Americans still think that JFK was assassinated by Lee Harvey Oswald.
Bizarre. Bizarre.
That's how good the CIA is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, now it's a lot harder and you see the cleanup in the.
You and I talked about it.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder now.
You see the cleanup. The confusion that they're trying to create immediately with CNN saying, well, Trump stumbled, he fell,
rushed off the stage after falling.
We heard firecrackers, like the amount of what the fuck are we talking about type shit. And to immediately, oh, this was staged. All these Democrats, this was staged. Because they are great at creating confusion. We know for a fact that they've been infiltrated into all of your social media platforms. They can pull all your information up, all your text messages, all your phone calls, all of your social media messages that you've ever sent. They can dictate what they show you with algorithms. This is the deep state. And and if you don't believe me, start talking in your cell phone about I want a new bed, a new comfy bed. That's what I want right now, is a brand new comfy bed. Go check your phone out 10 to 15 minutes later. I guarantee you start having a bunch of infomercials on beds on your phone. This has all been dictated by the government. Make you distracted, and why, don't watch the left hand while the right hand fucks you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's crazy, the confusion and chaos that they've created, and people still believe that they're wild, obscene shit. But that's what the deep state is. If you ever wanted to know, when they're talking about the deep state, it's unelected bureaucrats, and not even just that. We could get into the military-industrial complex as well. People that are profiting off of this. JD. Well, we'll get into JD Vance later, but essentially, when you're sitting here and you're saying, "Oh, we need to donate money to Ukraine. We need to give money to Ukraine. Give money to Ukraine." Do you don't think that people aren't getting paid for that? You don't think that these military industrial complex doesn't want to go to war?
Have you seen War Dogs? Have you seen War Dogs? Have you seen Lord of War?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You watch these movies, you love these movies, whether you're from the right or from the left side of politics. And if you don't think that this is not deeper, if the movie's that deep, bro, the government is 10 times deeper than you could ever imagine.
I have an aunt that negatively, we'll just say, we won't get too far into it, but that negatively replied to a few of my posts over the weekend as I was ready for war. And we got into a little tit for tat, nothing major or anything like that. I don't think it caused a family conflict. I hope not. But she said, well, I said, you're not a Republican if you believe anything Joe Biden says. And she said, well, I guess I'm just a different kind of Republican. She said, I liked Paul Ryan, Ronald Reagan, and George Bush, both of them.
That's a wild opposite of all different types of
Republicans,
right there. That's
obviously
crazy.
You know where I went with this. And I'm talking about this because you talked about the military industrial complex. So I was like, George Bush, the guy that lied about Iraq, the guy that allowed Dick Cheney to profit off of the military industrial complex for a war that lasted almost 20 years. That are we talking about the same George Bush? Hey, look, I think at the end of the day, half decent dude, little goofy, probably a drunk in his past, all these things. But best president?
Yeah, that's wild. This war could have been over, and there's several movies about this. They pulled, now that war had small detailed of units that were put out there way before anybody else was, and they were already handling the whole entire situation. They realized that there was money and capital gains to be had from it, and they brought in the army. Then they brought in all types of crazy things, paying $150 for a fucking banana to give troops. It's insane the amount of dumb spending.
We toppled Iraq before I ever forward deployed into Iraq, and I was there in January of 2003, prior to the invasion. We're getting way off topic.
Yeah.
Guys,
way off topic. But me and John are very opinionated human beings, as you guys see from this podcast. We're very well informed with several of these things. John, clearly a military guy himself, has been to Iraq, been deployed. And me, just as a hardcore, crazy political human being that just can't get enough politics in his life.
So real quick before we move on to our next topic, let's talk about just ballistics here for a second, and we're gonna I'll ask you, Don, what did you think that shot sound was right off the bat?
So first and foremost, I'll go back and say this. Now, when Joe Biden put out this tweet that said to ban ARs, okay, when you first called me, when I first heard the shot, I said it was a 22. It sounded like
long rifle.
Sounded like a 22 long rifle. I've been around enough guns. Now, clearly, clearly, because of microphones, you can hear microphones can only hear up so much. Just like our microphone right now, if you get up too loud, it goes in the red, it cracks, it stops, it cuts the noise down.
Correct.
However, let me go back to saying this. When you heard Donald Trump and everybody else on there, that microphone was pretty damn clear, where you could hear the Secret Service, you could hear, I mean, Donald Trump speak quite clearly. You could hear everything that was going on. You could hear the crowd from the microphone. And
the sound at the end of that shot was not distorted.
And it was not distorted. And I truly believe that shot was done with a 22 long rifle. Now, they wanted to ban ARs. Great, perfect, whatever. I knew that they were going to have this rhetoric. As soon as it happened, I told you, I said, they're going to say, and I said this, I said, watch and see. They're going to try to twist it and say he was a conservative, which they already have, which there's no proof of him being a conservative. There's none ever. He's never voted a day in his life. So there's no proof of that. And then I said, guarantee that's how they're going to swing things. And they're going to say that it's an AR-15. Now, I don't believe that it was an AR-15. I believe that it was a 22 long rifle.
It could have been a 22 long rifle AR-15.
Now that's what I want to go back and say this. It very well could be, because it's a semi-automatic. As you guys know,
rate of fire was too quick.
Yeah, rate of fire was too quick. As you guys know, 22 long rifles, there's tons of conversion kits. They're fun as shit. Everybody has them. They're cheap.
M&P makes one.
Bro, yeah. They're a lot of fun. A lot of people have them. Typically they're pretty cheap. And as a 20-year-old,
Smith & Wesson M&P makes one.
Yeah.
I mean, not M&P.
Yeah, I know. Well, I know what
you know what I meant.
There's a lot of people that have them, and there's a lot of new shooters that have them, and they're cheap and they're fun, which makes sense for a 20-year-old. Okay. I do not believe this was a 223 shot, and I'm going to let you.
So that's my question for you. Was this a 223 round?
No, I don't believe so. Now, maybe it was. I don't think so. I think that if it would have been a 223 round, and the way that they were saying that shot was coming at his ear, I think it would have taken his whole fucking ear off. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think you get some tumbling effect at that point. I really do believe you get slight tumbling at that point when it hits the ear, not prior to hitting the ear, but when it hits.
And you guys got to understand, this is at 150 yards. Now, if people can write in the comments, I would love to see it, but it's still going at 2,000 plus feet per second.
Yeah, maybe even like 2,500.
Maybe 2,500.
Yeah.
I think standard anyways, coming out the barrel, right out the tip of the barrel, is coming out at like 2,700 feet per second.
2,700 to 3,200, depending on
the length of the barrel, and there's all types of different things, but at least 2,000 feet per second. If it was a 223.
I did a over 2A Patriot Ranch. You can go over there on YouTube, 2A Patriot Ranch. I did a test of a 16-inch rifle, unsuppressed, out at 150 yards. You can see that video. Today, I did a 10.5-inch AR, suppressed with a dedicated 5.56 can. On the first rounds, I used regular ball ammo with 55 grain. And then on today's, I used 62 grain green tip X-Tac. Why wouldn't you shoot that suppressed? I don't know.
You're trying to kill somebody.
Yeah. So I figure why not use that as the option. Go and listen to that. They're very short videos. I think they're both like 2 minutes and 30 seconds. I didn't want to extend it out. It wasn't. And for those of you, I got a DM on this, and I'm going to go through. There's ways that you can actually go and kind of look on YouTube through the edit HTML settings and stuff. Neither one of those videos are set to monetize. I'm not trying to make money off of either of those videos. They are not monetized at all. I was not trying to, don't want to. That was not the point of it. It was made for informational purposes only.
So go check out 2A Patriot Ranch. Not yet.
Not yet.
After this is over with, and go check those videos out. Go back and watch the actual video. Now we know how clear that microphone was that was
Very
on.
clear.
It was extremely clear. And tell me if that, and John shot those shots out at 150 yards and put the microphone out at 150 yards. Okay. Tell me if if that sounds the exact same, or if that sounds more like a 22 crack. And that's my opinion on it. So
2.23 rounds and 5.56 rounds have a distinct clap to them.
yes, very
a
distinct.
crack, a crack. Well, we're going to use the two C words here. A 5.56 round unsuppressed has a crack.
It does not sound like a firecracker at 150 yards.
No,
and
it has.
And even if the microphone wasn't, even if people can say that, great, fantastic, I agree with you. Yeah, microphone, maybe not the best way to pick it up. Video camera, maybe not the best way to pick it up. At the end of the day, he used a microphone, he used a camera. Okay, at the end of the day, and the crowd said it sounded like a firecracker. It said they didn't even realize that shots were being shot because it sounded like a firecracker. Which, if you shoot a 22, it sounds like a firecracker. It does not have that same clack that a 2.23 or a 5.56 has on it.
And when you shoot it suppressed, it makes a clap sound.
Yes, and here's another thing. Our favorite guy,
Tim Kennedy
thought that it was a 22 as well. And as much as I don't like that guy, he said the same thing. He thought it was a 22 as well. I think it's a 22. I think that John thinks it's a 22. And now they also said that this guy was shot with iron sights, which, okay.
It's possible.
It's possible. It's possible that he shot with iron sights. They did not say if that shot was suppressed or not. There's no talk about an NFA item. Not to mention, I don't know about Pittsburgh, and this is great. This is fantastic because I get to ask you, and I was going to ask you this earlier. How does NFA laws work in Pennsylvania? Can you buy an NFA item under the age of 21?
No, but the father, it's already come out that the father purchased that gun.
Purchased the gun. Correct. Right. But
you would not be able to purchase a suppressor at 20 years old.
Suppressor. No. Okay.
No. Unless you were in the military on orders. And then you would be able to. But I used a dedicated 5.56 can from Otter Creek Labs, the Polonium K can today, and you can definitely hear a clap sound. So like Don said, go over to 2A Patriot Ranch. Listen to those sounds. It's like I said, it's real quick. I took a bunch of shots. I did a couple 3-round sets because that's what you can distinctly hear on the microphone. The best is the first 3 shots. Crack, crack, crack. Go listen to those.
The following shots after those shots, just so you guys are aware, when you hear the different sounds of those shots, that's because it's coming from a different gun. And
yes.
And we believe from pictures and images of the sniper, the counter sniper team, that was a 338 Lapua. And not to mention, they did clarify that was a 40 magnification, magnification Night Force that he had on that scope. And if
you could see the pores on somebody's face at 150 yards with a 40 by.
Yeah, you could see the booger in their fucking nose at 150 yards with that. I have a 25 X magnification that I shot out to 1,000 yards right next to John's place over there. I'm not going to say where we live, but it was a crack shot with a 308 with the 25 magnification. So
yeah, it's easy. Now, the last thing we'll talk about here before we move on is Don, question for you. Do you think the snipers that were behind Donald Trump took the shot that took out the gunman?
Now, this is what they're saying. Now, here's
what do you think?
My first initial reaction when I saw the sniper. Okay, they said, because this is what the media says. Now, I don't know, but this is what the media is telling us, is that they had him in the sights. And with that type of magnification, like you said, you could see a booger on that guy's nose. And they waited for the guy to shoot because they were told to stand down. But when he takes the what he does is he has his head up and he brings his head down, or he has his head down, he brings his head up and jerks the gun when you hear the first crack. I thought when he took that shot, he shanked the shot. After further observing it more, I don't know if he took that shot.
So I will tell you, I do not believe that he took that shot. He was on glass, meaning that he had his eye fixated on the glass, looking through the lens. He pulls off of glass, which I'm not going to say is a good thing or a bad thing. Sometimes when you're at 40, like say he was all the way at 40 magnification, sometimes you need to take your eye off of glass to get a better view of the entire picture of what's going on.
Agreed.
As he took his eye off glass, the first shot rang out. When you see that happen, he jerks backwards. The sniper to his right also jerks up and backwards, and the rifle goes down. It's on like this rooftop tripod thing. It also angles forward like this.
Yeah.
I don't think that the guy ever took a shot. What it looks like to me is that he came off glass. As he was kind of coming back down to go back on glass, the first shot from the gunman rips out. He goes like this. His arm grabs the gun, flips it up, and the other sniper definitely did not take a shot. That guy was about to fall off the motherfucking roof.
He ducked. He ducked immediately. Immediately, which is crazy.
I hate to be that guy.
Now, this is what's crazy to me. Now, we've already made this very clear. The Secret Service is supposed to protect whoever they're protecting at all cost. All cost. Why, as a sniper, would you duck when you're supposed to be protecting the person that's over here? Clearly, you're not the one getting shot at, which is suspicious in itself. Super weird, right?
So if you were on glass, and whether it was 45 seconds or 3 minutes, you knew that there was somebody right there with a gun, right? So your expectation is that there could possibly be a shot. If you were looking at it that long and you knew that it was a weapon, you know there could possibly be a shot. When was the last time you were at a gun range and the person beside you that you knew had a gun and you knew was set up to start shooting, when was the last time you flinched?
Fuck, never.
Never.
I mean, maybe when I first started shooting.
I can't remember the last time I flinched at a gunshot.
Yeah. I mean, I think.
So why did they flinch?
Well, I see. This is why I fight with this so much, because I thought now a 330 at Lapua does have some kick.
It's a kick.
It's got some kick to it for anybody that doesn't know anything about guns that's coming here to watch this. That's a long fucking gun. It's got a massive barrel on it.
Heavy.
Huge. It's probably got a 12-inch suppressor on it. Super heavy, crazy, insane. Bipod that was on that sucker.
The optic alone on that is probably 2 pounds.
Every bit of it. Every bit of 2 pounds. Now, what I first thought was he jerked the trigger, and that's why he dipped down.
Which would happen.
But the fact is that he took his eye off the glass, and then it happened. And I didn't realize that until you told me. And this happened so quickly, by the way. When me and John were talking about this, I sent this immediately to John. This was the same day that it happened, not very long after when we saw the video. And I immediately sent it to him. And I said, oh, this is who took the shot at him. It was already out that that this counter sniper team had him in the glass for 45 seconds. That's what the sniper.
And I told you, I said, I don't think he took the shot.
And you did. And then you said, watch. And then I went back and I watched, and I was like,
who takes a shot off glass?
If you're a beginner shooter, your reflexes, sure, but not as me and you would not have done that.
When you're shooting a 338 Lapua at 150 yards, if you even nudge that gun in the wrong direction, you could end up hitting somebody else.
Massive. You could have. Who knows who you could have killed? And,
exactly.
And apparently, it took 6 shots to kill the guy. That's what they were saying.
And
6 shots.
1238 Lapua shot to the dome, and you're done.
And also, that doesn't look like a 338 Lapua shot that was taken at his head.
No,
because a 338 Lapua would have taken his.
So we did have a family.
At 150
we
yards.
did have a family friend that was right there in that outside section right there that did say that a chunk of his head was
gone
off to the side.
Yeah, but I mean, let's be honest. A 44 mag would have taken a chunk off of his head. 45 would have taken a chunk off of his head.
Not at 150 yards.
No, well, no. But if we're going back and we're saying this isn't the sniper, there's several rounds depending on range that could have taken a chunk of your head off.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, 308, 762, 6.5 Creedmoor, 6.5 Grendel, 243 Winchester. We could keep going.
Green tip 5.56.
Green tip 5.56. Shit, even 6 arc might do it.
Yeah. Black tip hunting round. I mean, there's several.
Any V match. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's our opinion. So to sum that part up there, because I know we got a little like woo on it.
I think it was good though. I think that they needed to hear that. I mean,
so
you're more than welcome to disagree with us.
Yes, please
in the comments.
Put it down in the comments. Just to sum that up, so Don and I, neither of us believe that was a 223 5.56 round. We both believe that it was somewhere in the neighborhood of a 22 long rifle, maybe 22 Magnum, somewhere in that range.
Mm-hmm.
I am 100% at the point where I do not believe that counter sniper team behind Donald Trump took that shot. Don is getting there. That's to sum that up correctly there.
I mean, at first view, yeah. But at second, third, fourth, fifth, there's a lot of questions that's happened across the board with this whole entire scenario. A ton. I'm sure you guys in the comments have a ton of questions too. We're just two gun guys. I'm a musician, but we both love guns. We're both, patriotic, freedom-loving human beings. Tell us in the comments. That's the thing.
Tell us what you think. Prove us wrong, please.
Prove us wrong. And if we are proven wrong, hey,
I'll say it.
Not a problem.
Don's coming here right now saying he thought that the guy took a shot, and then after he looked at it again, he didn't. So
yeah, there you go. Big news today, though.
Big news, my guy. Big news. So we've been waiting for this. We thought it could possibly happen at the Miami rally. And then who knows, it actually might have happened at the Butler rally that only lasted less than 15 minutes. But Donald Trump today at the Republican National Convention announced that his vice presidential ticket mate is going to be J.D. Vance.
Which is crazy. And let me just say this. I love how Trump works this, because he was supposed to come out at 4:30 and give this information. And instead, he went straight to Truth Social right before they said it at the RN.
I got the notification on my phone, and I was like, what the fuck? And then you texted me like shortly thereafter.
I was like, what a gangster, bro. He's like, nah, nobody's
my Truth Social.
Nobody's getting this moment. I gotta bring all the news to Truth Social.
I love it. So we're gonna take a couple different ways, and we'll try to keep this one on track so we don't go too long here, guys. But the first way we want to look at it is because it's one of the things that's most near and dear to our hearts. JD Vance on the Second Amendment. So I'm going to give you the overview first. Overall, JD Vance is a good candidate for us for the Second Amendment. He was in opposition of the bump stock rule and of the pistol brace rule. He had a little stumbling point.
The whole red flag
with red flag.
Safer Community, or what is it?
Yeah.
Safer Community Act. Yeah.
He has since come around.
Yep.
He has since seen the error in his ways. And I get it. After Parkland.
But he did not vote for that. He did not vote for it. He came very quickly to that conclusion and realized, because I don't think anybody truly knew what red flags laws were at that point. It wasn't clearly defined on what that would be.
No, I mean, even Ron DeSantis was pushing some of this stuff. So
Yeah.
I mean, was spearheading some of it.
Yeah.
But as far as the Second Amendment goes, guys that are following us because of Don and I's both of our gun content and stuff like that, we're good. We're good. We're actually probably better than Trump right there.
Yeah, and probably a lot better than everybody except if they would have picked maybe Vivek.
Vivek, I was about to say, yeah.
There are some things I don't like about JD Vance.
So why Vance?
I'm gonna say this. This is why JD Vance was chosen. Now, me and you had talked about this before, and I came to the great, brilliant idea that it was going to be Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
Yes, me too.
But I said, secondly, if it either be that or it'll be JD Vance. That's both of us kind of came to this conclusion, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think we both agreed upon this at that time when we talked about it. Check episode 1, I believe. The reason why they picked JD Vance he's a guy from Ohio, ex-military. Well, actually, I can't say ex-military because he's a Marine. So you have to say prior Marine. So all my Marine guys out there, don't get mad at me. I know some of you will watch this that are my Marine friends. And he's very big for blue collar workers. He's done a lot of stuff for the farm communities in the Midwest. And they needed to have a Midwest guy because those are the swing states right now. You got Wisconsin, you got Minnesota, you got Pennsylvania, and you got Michigan, and these are all very blue-collared areas. And your guy's a blue-collar guy, came from the dirt. He's got a book out called Hillbilly something or another, whatever it is. You guys can check it out. It's like a #1 selling book. That's the reason why I think that they picked him. And there's no dirt on him. He's a pretty clean guy. Can't call him a racist. His wife, I think, is a different ethnicity as well. And he doesn't say a whole lot except how he feels. And yeah, there's no dirt on him. And he's been a great ideology person for the community, for the working class. And that's who Trump needs to win.
Yeah. So JD Vance is an extremely intelligent individual.
Mm-hmm.
Extremely. He got his BA from Ohio State University in 2 years, and then did his Juris Doctorate at Yale.
Actually was classmates with Vivek.
Yeah, was classmates with Vivek.
Yeah.
He's an extremely bright individual. He was he worked for John Cornyn for a while.
I don't know if I want to admit that, but
well, he worked for him, so
yeah.
But he's a very smart individual. And then the reason I believe that Donald Trump picked JD Vance is because he's a bulldog, and whatever Trump says, JD Vance is going to go out there and he is going to mop the floor with anyone that decides to have a dissenting opinion. I absolutely cannot wait to see him go up against Kamala Harris in the vice presidential debates, because
if it is Kamala, we don't know.
If it is Kamala, he is going to wipe the floor with her in the first 10 seconds of every topic.
Oh yeah,
JD Vance is a bulldog. Now, I think one of the things that goes against JD Vance is his ability to play the game yet and his experience level.
Agreed.
People said the same thing about Donald Trump, but Donald Trump was in a different position. Donald Trump was also 70 whatever when the first time he was elected. He had been a businessman for 50 years. JD Vance is very young, and
I think helps in some ways because they want somebody younger, and 39 is about as young as you can possibly get for a VP pick.
Yes.
At this point in time, let me say this. The way that the political venue is right now with people that are these players in the political party, 39 is ungodly young compared to the rest of everybody else. You're talking about like the age of like what AOC, like they're like around the same age group, which is considered like young, youthful, crazy, psycho liberal. But
sure,
that's why I think that's why, because people want somebody young, and I think that also does help Trump in a lot of ways, and maybe could potentially hurt him because he is untested when it comes to that big of a platform.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what I was getting at there. Just high level other good things about JD Vance. He is a vocal critic of U.S. military aid to Ukraine, which obviously we both love.
But I will say this is the one thing I don't like about him. He did originally vote to send the money.
He did.
And so I want to be fair and square about JD Vance. Do I think he's a great pick? I said this today. Yes. Everybody wants Vivek. I understand it. I get it. Vivek's probably going to be 2028 president. I don't think JD Vance will be the next president of the United States. No. But I think that this now maybe in 2030s, whatever, end of 2030, 2038, whatever. Sure, maybe, very well could be. But I think that I think, like you said, I think it's because he's a bulldog in a china shop. He's very opinionated, very smart, very intellectual guy, and he's a patriot, and he's fought for this country, and he's a blue collar guy.
He is, and I think the one thing that stood out to me that the reason that I didn't think that it was actually going to be him, Trump is a grudge holder.
Yes, and he's said some pretty crazy things about Trump in the past.
He, if I remember correctly, said that something to the effect of Trump's policy proposals, such as they are, range from immoral to absurd, I believe is what he said.
Yeah.
He called him reprehensive, called himself a never Trump guy.
Yeah.
And called him a cynical asshole like Nixon.
Yeah.
But in
let
2020,
he changed.
He changed.
Yeah, and let's just go back to saying this. Now, John has already said he's changed. I mean, I've always leaned very right wing, anyways. I don't want to say I'm not an extremist, but I'm a libertarian right wing. And both of us had our opinions, and both of us have came around because one, the economy was great. We had no new wars. We could all afford to feed our families, fill up the gas tank, go to work. Life was peachy. Life was grand. Trump did an amazing job as president. There's no doubt about it. If you say differently, you're delusional, and you clearly didn't have your eyes open. And I don't know, like you're just a radical human being if you didn't believe that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a no-brainer.
And he's changed. So
he's changed. So that I personally give him a pass for. I'm just surprised that Donald Trump did. That's one of Donald Trump's flaws. He does not like to let things go. But he did on this, and I give him credit. He's growing just like the rest of us.
And let's just be real. Donald Trump has made dramatic changes on the way he
election cycle,
when things are attacked and said about him, he comes with the facts. He lets you make yourself fold like he did with Biden. He lets the media just eat themselves, and he just sits back, gives you his facts or what he believes or his opinions on things, and he lets you eat yourself. Which
2024 Trump is very different than 2016 Trump.
Yeah, which is and at that point in time, he was doing exactly what the Democrats have always done, which is being extremely divisive back and forth. And that's probably like what you said. That's probably the reason why you're like, I don't know, because everything's so divisive. The country's divisive. The Democrats are divisive. Donald Trump's divisive. Everybody was being so crazy at each other. And I think Donald Trump has learned from that. And great leaders learn from their mistakes. And that's why I truly think that he is a phenomenal leader that can show growth, which there's not many leaders that can.
And I think we're going to see the next level of growth out of Donald Trump after Saturday.
Yeah, I do too.
I think that you're going to see a humble, as humble as Donald Trump will ever get. You're going to see a humbled, introspective and reflective person. That's what I believe you're going to see.
But don't get it twisted.
He mad.
Very mad and very determined.
Mm-hmm.
That man got off after getting shot in the fucking face and with the American flag behind him and screamed out, fight, 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 with blood dripping down his face. Do not think that that man is just going to let you roll over him now. He's going to be
He said, let me get my shoes.
smart, sharp, and he's calculated. And I think that was his biggest mistake in 22. He thought the economy's great. Everything's fantastic. We just had COVID, this terrible thing that just happened.
People aren't going to blame me for that.
People aren't going to blame me for that. And plus, look, I turned the economy around super quick, faster than anybody could ever imagine. And then you guys voted in Joe Biden. And then within 6 months, the economy was crashing. Inflation was insane. I remember looking at lumber, and lumber was at $92 for a fucking piece of plywood. Absolutely insanity.
Insane.
And we've been dying ever since as a country with inflation, ever since Biden has taken office. So, not to mention multiple wars. So,
congratulations, JD Vance.
Yep, congratulations.
I'm going to preemptively say congratulations on becoming vice president of the United States. I think that everybody in this country has resigned themselves to the fact that Donald Trump is going to be the 47th president of the United States. Guy took a bullet for y'all.
Yeah. I mean, unless they, look, the Democrats, I just want to say this real quick. Like I said before, I said the only thing left for the Democrats to do is shoot Donald Trump. Right? That's pretty much it, right? That's pretty much it. That's the last thing that they could do. Okay. Now, the only other thing that they could have done is what they did last week. And that was when they said, oh, no, we're not going to vote. The Senate said, we're not going to take up this. We're not going to vote for illegal immigrants to not show ID to be able to vote. All of the Democrats said, no, which means that they want illegals to vote. That is their last little bit of hope that they have, is 20 million illegal immigrants. This right here was their next best thing. Like I said, Democrats are insane when it comes to, having plans. Way better, way more planned, not economically, but planned as far as controlling power. We're going to shoot them. Oh, we can't shoot them. Okay, we're going to try to take away their guns. Oh, we can't do that. Okay, we're going to convict them. We're going to try to bankrupt them. We're going to, destroy his name to the whole world for the next 8 years. Oh, that doesn't work. Okay, 20 million illegal immigrants vote. The amount of things that they have had planned is insane. And Donald Trump is Teflon fucking Don.
Teflon fucking Don.
Yeah.
Well, man, what you got going on this week ahead?
Work. I got a match this weekend, so that's going to be fun. Got practice for some stuff, and fuck, man, I might have to just go ahead and think about dropping this damn song a lot quicker than I thought.
Yes, please.
So that might be something that I have to do. I haven't made a post on Instagram. I mean, story, sure, but we made a post on Instagram in a long time. So this week might have to do that. My beautiful fiance, we've taken, we're going to take some pictures. We've been engaged now for a little while now. So we're going to do that on Sunday. So I know that's going to make her super happy.
Are you going to do a few with guns?
Yes,
You
that's
definitely should.
yes. And those will be the ones that get posted on it.
I love it.
And we might actually share those pictures here on Liberty Goons. So
I love it.
I'm super grateful and thankful of the people I have around me, her especially, and people, my friends like John here, and yeah, man, that's what my week's gonna be like. And I'm to be honest with you, like as tragic as Saturday was, like I feel like everything's changing in our direction. And it has been now for a few months, and I feel like we're going to be in a really good position, God willing.
I agree, man. I agree. I've got some more filming to do. I got a little bit done this weekend, so stay tuned to a Patriot Ranch this week. We're going to be dropping some hot new content. We've got a review of the Canik TTI Combat coming out. We've got a review of the SIG P365 Fuse that's going to come out this week.
That's what I'm excited about. Go
Yeah,
check that one out. I can't wait to come down there and pester John to get to shoot it.
we have a horrible review of the ATN Excite 5 coming out. I'm a dumbass, and so that thing's getting sent to Don. Good luck. It's an amazing freaking digital scope, but I am too dumb to figure it out. I got it figured out enough to put some shots on target. Shot sub MOA, by the way. So that was the only good part of the video. The rest of it, I'm an idiot.
I'll gladly take that off your hands and be the next dumbass to figure it out.
Today, I bought a P320 Spectre comp. I stopped in. So I was filming a review on the. I won't get into it. I was filming a review on a rifle, and the rifle jammed up about 5 shots in. Yeah, and so I'm gonna have to go back and refilm it now. It was not a malfunction with the gun itself. I took it. It was so jammed up I could not get the bolt back and the round out of the chamber. So I had to take it down to my boys at Picket Weaponry, and they hooked it up and got that damn thing out of there. There was an issue with the round. And I knew there was. I took a bunch of gas back in my face on the round prior to it, and I knew something happened with round.
The suppressor is good though, right?
Yeah, suppressor's fine.
Okay, because typically when that happens, that's the first thing that I'm like, oh shit, the suppressor.
No, suppressor's fine. And then guess what I just bought right before we got on air tonight? I got an email from Gunbroker. And it's a hot auctions ending soon, so
God. Those are the worst. Like I try to avoid emails and everything like that because if I start looking, I'm like,
so I opened it, and I only look at things that are closing within an hour, right? I do not have the patience to bid on something that's going to be like gone in 3 days. I can't do it. Yeah, I'll fucking pull my hair out. So there was an auction. It was 45 minutes left at the time I bid on it. I'm not going to give numbers. If you go on there, you can probably see it. I bought a SIG MCX Spear in 7.62. Let's just say I paid sub $2,000 for it.
Dang, that's a steal.
Yeah.
Hey, so 7.62 by what though?
By 39.
My man.
Yeah.
My man.
Yeah,
I want to shoot that, and I will gladly bring a box of my own ammo to shoot that thing.
I think we're gonna end up putting a dead air can on it too. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun one. So I got that sent. Hey guys over at they watch this too. So guys over at Picket Weaponry, be on the lookout. I have a gun coming to you. So shout outs this week. We're gonna do something a little bit new here this week, guys. We want to shout out people that have made an impact on our lives or that we came across this week. No no sponsor, mentions, things like that. Just people. So Don, who do you want to shout out this week?
Man, I don't want to get into individual names because then people will be.
No, you don't have to be individuals.
People will get upset. So me and John clearly have been posting a lot on our stories this week, a ton. So there's been lots of love for our country that has been shared within these stories. So I just want to thank you guys for that. I also want to thank you guys because my algorithms have been so dead, and this is the first time that I have reached to 2,000 to 3,000 people even watching my stories, which has not happened in quite some time. So thank you guys for that. I greatly appreciate helping out my algorithms. And also every single new subscriber, every single person that's watched this show, that's liked this show, that's subscribed to this show, that has sent this to their friends, we cannot thank you enough. Obviously, me and John have some really big plans for Liberty Goons. We'll see at goals, and we really want to see this thing grow. Obviously, I think from the first show we've grown quite a bit from that. So keep watching, and it's going to keep getting better. And I'm forever grateful for every single person that's watching this. And shout out to your mama.
Thank you. You took one of mine because I was going to thank. I was going to thank some social media people as well for kind of the outpouring of support over the weekend. Obviously, people knew that my mom was at the rally. I'm going to shout out the boys, like I just did over at Picket Weaponry. They are hella guys over there. If you are in the Newberry, Florida area, stop by and see those guys. I'm not going to tell you to buy anything from them because I think YouTube frowns upon that. But go in and talk to Andrew and Joey and the boys over there. They are absolutely phenomenal people. I also want to shout out a former coworker of mine. His name is Steve. I'm not going to give Steve's last name. He might come on the show though, because we've got a little segment that I want to do with him. But Steve has been #1 fan. He is constantly sending me half of the stuff that we share on Liberty Goons Instagram, and he has been a staunch supporter, as well as a few other former coworkers as well. So shout out to all of you guys. I did the only we'll call it sponsor shout out, but the only thing I wanted to mention this week. So I had a ton of comments on episode, I think it was episode 2. I was wearing my trigger puller hat, and I got a bunch of DMs on Instagram about that hat. And so today I decided to wear the panty dropper hat. You can see there in a little AR action with the panty dropper. So these are from Combat Iron Apparel. Really cool company. They make a lot of funny t-shirts. If you guys have seen me wear my Trust God, Not Government, or Never Surrender, and Don't Be a Bitch, and all those shirts that I have, they're all from Combat Iron Apparel. You can use the code 28Patriot and get yourself a discount on them. I didn't really mean that as a sponsor post, but people just kept asking me about the hat, so I decided to wear another one tonight. So
yeah, shout out if you want to send me a panty dropper hat, holla at your boy.
Combat Iron Apparel. We will tag you down below.
Yeah,
and send my boy Don a hat. But yeah, just as Don was saying, guys, please, if you like this video, give us a like down there. It helps us out. And subscribers really, really help us beat the YouTube algorithm. So if we could do this together, us two and you guys, let's beat the algorithm together. Give us a subscribe. And if you want to get notified every single time we post a cool episode just like this, ring that notification bell.
Hit the bell, baby. Hit the bell. Yeah, absolutely. Look, guys, I just want to once again just shout out and say thank you guys so much. If you guys want to sponsor to the channel, companies out there, we are more than happy to take that. But at the end of the day, we just want you guys to share this. Follow our Instagram. It's Liberty Goons
at Liberty Goons.
at Liberty Goons. Follow us on Instagram. We're doing updates.
They're all right down here below me.
Constantly. Yep, right here. Go check those out. Follow us all on Instagram, social media, and we cannot wait to share episode 5 with you guys coming very soon. We love y'all, and Liberty Goons
Out.
out.